We'll be on in 5 minutes, team. Just enjoy the music for a little while and start to think to yourself, what does the ER stand for in the emblem for the Queen? What does it mean? Don't look it up. Just did you know or didn't you? Let me know in comments.
I'm not sure if time could ever cure this mind.
4 minutes to go.
As you're fading out of sight, you're just a star among the night. How can I keep on when no one sings his song? And I miss almost every line. Just trying to feel more alive, to feel more alive, to feel more alive. And I keep running on the hope I'll see you on the other side. I'm reminded every day they have me piloting these skies. I look out across the clouds and hope someday I'll see you fly. Oh, I've got nothing left, and the moon's dead, while the sun's sitting on its side. I'm not sure if time could ever cure this mind. As you're fading out of sight, you're just a star among the night. How can I
With that, you're exactly correct, Foxy. Foxy lady. Good to have you here, team. Here we are. It's Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz with a little bit of a different background. Okay, showing the importance of customs, traditions, standing up for something in the absence of nothing. So that is going to be the crux of what we're speaking about tonight as Queen Elizabeth is laid to rest. Foxy was exactly right. I did not know what the ER stood for. I didn't realise it meant Elizabeth Regina II in the centre, because it's not on the Skippy badge. I wonder why. Anyway, we've got her crown, but there you go. So that's what it means. And it's on the thumbnail that we saw here today. G'day, William John. How you going, mate? We've had a lot of news in the last week or so. This is the alternative if you want me to switch to that, guys, so we can watch this in between. Wait 2 seconds, Miss Jane. Well, we can watch a little bit of the service as it happened. It was spectacular. You know, it really was. But that's going to be hard for me to actually see what else is going on over here unless I go, wait. Now I don't know what I look like on there. But, yeah, a really, really special night indeed. I sat up and watched it. We've had a lot of special news. We had the first individuals that signed on for the King instead of the Queen on their enlistment date, on their very morning that they went to enlist. Found out the Queen had just passed away. Okay, now you're swearing under the King. We've got the first platoon 35 platoon that marched out under the King because the previous week that march out had not occurred. So there we go. We've got a lot of firsts. We've got people that are signing in. We've got some back squads back classes at RMC at the moment happening. We've also got individuals just been accepted for the January intake under the King. So there's a hell of a lot going on. And in between that, it's been family time, it's been headaches, and we're about to start school holidays in New South Wales. But it's great to have you here. I can see everyone is here. Dave D. CR is Charles Rex. Yep. Now I found that out. So that all the badges are going to change. The back of the money is going to change. Anything with the Queen's crown has to change. But basically what it come down to is so many people are talking about that it didn't matter to them. You know, I don't think it mattered until they actually saw the significance and watched the stellar performance of the people in the UK, which I believe is some of the most positive news I've seen in probably over 10 or 15 years. More than 10 days where people showed courtesy, compassion and patience while they said goodbye to the lady that gave so much. The lady that wasn't ruined, that absolute power, okay, is corrupts everyone. You know, that didn't happen with her. 70 years. To put things in perspective, I was serving for 24 years. So if that had been the level of Queen Elizabeth's reign, that would have been 46 years that she didn't do. So she worked her career 46 years longer than me. That's insane. Absolutely amazing. How do you put things like that into perspective? Hey, Rodney, how you going there, mate? Foxy IQ, let us know. Thumbs up. Do you believe, or a thumbs down, if you're not into the monarchy, if you don't think that the Queen is the big deal that she was? No one's ever done more. The only monarch that served longer than the Queen in office was a French individual who got the crown at 4 years old. So it's not the same. So she is the longest serving ever functional monarch. If you don't think it's a big deal, should you be allowed to have the day off? If you're not religious, should you be able to have Easter off? Should you be allowed to have Christmas off? There should be a price to the things. There should be special days, sure. But if you're not a participant of it, even if your actual stand against it, should be allowed to have time off and be rewarded against your daily bread, so to speak. Anyway, Rodney, Kaz, how are you? I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I had a headache that could have killed something important in the last few days. Where are we? Let's get rid of that. This is actually stuffed me around a little bit. No, there we go. Yeah, so basically it's been a rough few days. Been keeping up with what's going on with the Queen. Been keeping up with what's going on the bat phone. It's been going hot. We've got a lot of good news. We've got we've had some bad news too, where people have fallen short. Some with psych. Okay, been told come back in a year. Okay, others been told they didn't have the fitness that was required, you know, and weren't likely to get there either, which should never be an occurrence, because this is the first time in history where you get told exactly what the scores are. So what do you stand for, team? What does everyone stand for? You know, because when I looked at the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, the police, all of those that were there that day, I can tell you, they weren't doing it as a chore. They were loving it. It was an absolute honour for them to say thank you to the monarch. And it seems like the people that have got the most to lose, those that carry swords, seem to be more in line with what was happening than those that carry pens, which doesn't make sense. For those that have the most to lose, they should be more picky, more critical of monarchy. But we don't see the monarchy driving Ferraris. We see a life of service. You wouldn't want to swap it with them, team. Harry broke away because he couldn't handle the burden. Truckee. Yep, Foxy's a truckee. Smoky B, g'day mate. Cane and Peppers. Peace makes weak soldiers. Yes, it does, and we're seeing that right now. What allows is for change to creep in, unnecessary change. And I think that officers need to shut the fuck up when it comes to how to make a good soldier. They don't know. They're not instructors. Their job is to tell the guy to go from point A, point B, and be prepared to drop and give me 1,000 push-ups at a moment's notice if the sergeant tells them so. The expert instructors are sergeants, are warrant officers, are section commanders, corporals. Let them say, no, halt the train, Chief of the Army. We all stand for something. You've got a commission, I get it, but I'm the one at the sharp end. I should have a say in the mix as well, and that is give me the best possible men and women to my left and right, and at least be honest and consistent. Leo's here. G'day, Nicole. G'day, Smokey. Where are we at? Navy veteran. New order signal as of 22nd. And Majesty's Australian ship are now to be referred to as His Majesty's Australian ship. God save the King of Australia and the Commonwealth. Yep. And imagine if we didn't have. I think America really opened their eyes up and looked at the UK. And I got that a phone call from Ed B today from the USA to basically say congratulations to the people of the Crown of the Commonwealth for how well they've behaved themselves over the last 10 days and what a spectacular, the biggest ever, what would you call it, send-off for someone in the history of the world for any subject. It was crazy. I can't believe for 40 kilometres it was still nearly 10 people deep on both sides of the road. Do the maths. James, g'day boys. Foxy, compassion is one of the things that makes Australian soldiers different. Compassion is peace. I had a lady at school ask me, as she basically said, you're ex-army, aren't you? I said, yeah, if there's such thing, after you serve a certain amount of time. She goes, why would you be in the monarchy? And this is a lady that's married to a guy from England. When all they do is send you to the bad places for political reasons. So I'm like, because we see the other side of the adventure. The soldier, the airman, the sailor, more the army than anyone, we get to actually see the looks of the people in the villages' eyes, the people in the areas we've been invited to come and try and save. We see the plight, and it's our job to be able to amplify the force that we project from a civilised living standard on an uncivilised living standard. Pack of savages that are letting cultural norms allow them to carry out what would be considered a bloody crime in every country except theirs that hides behind gangland violence, etc. under warlords. Unacceptable. If no one goes down the lane when they hear the lady scream, then one day it could be your own daughter that's screaming, and then when no one comes because that's been set as the norm, well done for those that drink too much soy milk. The Queen's horse, Emma, made me lose it. I actually thought it was beautiful when I saw that horse. And little Charlotte, isn't it going to be fantastic to follow through our lives the actual trajectory of Prince Charlotte's life? If you want to know what side of the argument you're on, you could always go for the side that most people are on, or you could go on the side of Harry and Meghan. And I dare say Harry wishes he was back with the normal people as well by now. Spicy Guns. That's a good name. James, what's your opinion on the Mortimer in the ADF? I believe the Mortimer should stay with the infantry. For the reason why I say that, I don't believe they should be with artillery, is artillery always take too long to get to the party. and mortars are organic to the commanding officer's assets of the support company, which means he can get his hands on it quicker, which means an OC of a rifle company, whether it be mechanised, motorised, whether it be light, whether it be amphibious, when they use them, he doesn't have to go through the rigmarole of getting them under the fires nets with other corps to be able to use those organically with his own missions that he can grant the access to. So I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about there, but I believe the jurisdiction should remain with infantry. And the reason why they probably can't is because that means they've got to have additional armoured vehicles to allow for, similar to APCM, where the actual back is opened up where the mortar tubes can still fire from within the vehicle. Hey, Lauren, how you going, mate? I wasn't going to disturb you. Lauren had a lot on today. Jen, g'day, mate. How you going? Good to have Jennifer here too. We heard something pretty scary at the moment. I got a call from Shannon, male Shannon. I thought it was a lady until we'd had our Patreon call and realised that although it's a fantastic name for a lady, it's also a great name for a man. And he was saying there's something going on with Russia at the moment, where there's some sort of mobilisation that's actually occurring at the moment, which means they might have run out of their A team and B team and now be starting to look at some sort of conscription or stand-up of the citizenry of Russia. I hope that's not the case, because that probably means they're either doubling down on what's happening or something bigger is afoot. And I hope that foot doesn't have tinea. Put a thumbs up if you actually watched the funeral and let us know what you thought about it. That'd be interesting. The pipes and drums really took my heart, because if you're from the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, you'll have pipes and drums in front of you as well. They're part of the unit. The Navy did a particularly good job, except they can never keep step for some reason. I don't know what it is. Navy veteran. We go to bad places to do bad things to bad men, so people like you can sleep peacefully at night. Soldiers standing watch on the gates of hell. Yep. Yes, Russia is mobilising 300,000 reserves. That's not a good sign, because you can go through those 300,000 fairly quickly when you're using old equipment. You know, so you're using the D team at the moment, because we're talking about Russian reserves here. That's not a good sign. It also means you've got almost no chance of expanding beyond what your original mission was going to be, and you can't hide that when it comes to speaking to your public. What the hell's going on now when Billy Bob Rasky is getting told, go and grab your musket to get ready for combat? Hey, Foxy, thanks, mate. If whoever needs it, go forward, never backwards. Boom. Not too cow, especially to the cabin boy. Never go backwards. There were people from all around the world showing respect. Absolutely was, Leo. I think it showed people actually that it pulled us away from American politics and actually showed us the Commonwealth. And we're seeing more and more, despite the fact that America is one of my favourite countries in the world, we are definitely seeing there is a massive rift of difference between the Commonwealth and USA. And we saw a spectacular woman journalist today when Don Lemon of CNN actually hit him up and said, is it about time the king started paying reparations to the people of colour? You know, and she put him straight back in his place and said, well, how about we go back to the source and blame the source? And that was the Africans that actually started the trade in the first place, not for the UK that actually stamped out slavery. So he didn't know what to do. He said, interesting point, and then basically cut his link. He was wrong and uneducated on the subject. Didn't get the chance, says Caitlin Peppers, but glad she had the support of the public for her funeral. Yep. You know what? At 96 years, you know, that's Elwood 96. She really deserved a break. She did. But it is important that we stand for something. We should stand for the monarchy, because it is not there to interfere with our life. You know, it doesn't actively control what we do. It doesn't ask us of anything in particular. Right? You don't see them being like a YouTuber flashing their Lambo or Ferrari or their cash. As a matter of fact, they're so rich, estimated that King Charles just inherited the UK estate that was worth over $42 billion and another $500 million from the personal estate of the Queen. But you're not going to see him spending that on anything in particular. And you wouldn't want his lifestyle, to tell you the truth. Yep. And Prince William, Prince of Wales, he just inherited over $1 billion worth of assets as well. Kojak. Now, there's a man that needs a haircut. Russia using prisoners in exchange for fighting for Z-Team. Yep. That's not the first time that's been done, mate. Tropical assault. Ukraine and Russia are trying for the battle on two fronts. It's going to be bad. A good channel to watch at the moment is Redacted. It's an excellent one. It's a man and woman. They some really good feedback on there. It's a good one worth watching. Redacted. What were we going to say? Okay, I was just wondering what years did you serve and where you did deploy to? James. So I joined in 1991, right? And it was on the 3rd of July. And I got out on the 27th of May 2015. So that's nearly 7 years ago. Time has gone past and I've been a YouTuber ever since I basically got out. This is my second channel. Now, where did I go to? I thought I was going to go to Somalia, but there was too many people that went from the 2nd, 4th Battalion over to support 1RAR. Never got to go. Tears in my eyes, thinking that I'd missed what I wanted to stand for, and that was to go and look after those that need assistance. I never got to go there. But a year and a bit later, there I was in Rwanda, Central Africa, for a horrible deployment. Okay, but I also took away a lot of beauty from that place as well. All right. So Rwanda, that was in 1994, 95. Right? And then in 99, we hit the ground first in East Timor, with the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment. And then in 2001, 2002, went back to East Timor. Okay, and then in 2008, by this stage, my guts I was shitting more blood than poo. And I was lucky to get back on a trip. So I ended up going over as head of security with 3 other sergeants at the Sinai Peninsula of the Middle East between Israel and Egypt, and had to be an Egyptian citizen to be there. So if we stuffed up, we'd end up in an Egyptian jail, trying to dodge the Muslims in the shower. And after that, basically I got sold down the drain a little bit by my platoon commander, who said I would have been better off learning a little bit more about paperwork. So I ended up being the only senior NCO other than Nicholas Haddock, and never got deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq, despite the fact that we did all the assistance and the training of those to get there over so many years. That was unfortunate. The exchanges were excellent. Exchanges into the US, into Hawaii multiple times, into New Zealand multiple times, and the cross exchanges where we looked after foreign soldiers in Australia was amazing. It was really critical to the lessons that I've learnt. But other than all of that, what I believe the biggest learning curve I ever had was working with people like Dan Narocki, okay, with Mike Elliott's, with Julian Chavez from Special Forces Group over in the USA, with the American and UK exchanges, and lateral transfers, and Australian officers and Australian NCOs within the Tactics and Leadership Division at the School of Infantry. Absolutely amazing to be around a whole bunch of people, okay, that are also very well versed in what they're talking about, and then the accumulation of great ideas on above the line tactics, explanations, and leadership was outstanding. Really was. Navy. So, Kaz, in your opinion, why do we serve to protect the interest of the king in Australia's blood? It's Australia's blood worth being spilled overseas for the UK interest. It's not for the UK interest. It's for peace. We don't get to put it this way, Navy veteran, and he is a Navy veteran, Army veteran, and we've got Air Force in the chat as well. We don't get to choose who we fight. What we do get to choose is to fight at all, for right or for wrong. Now, unless we actually go into a country that we have not been invited to, and I'm talking about as a coalition force, that is normally the way we fight, like a police action that has the 3-block war that can have us going from low-level operations, winning hearts and minds, up to a combination of rules of engagement, stepping up to full warfare, all in a 3-block period. So I don't get to choose who I get to fight. This is not the UFC. It's not a boxing match, and it's never going to be even. Now, the UK can make the decision they're going into something. Remember, we're part of more than one pact. We were the USA as well as the UK that we give our support to. But what we do is we go to the fights we don't necessarily think we have part of, and in replacement to that, that means one day when our children are in danger, hopefully that's reciprocated and they come back and look after our kids. So you stand up when you don't need to stand up, and that probably means you've got longevity and teamwork. I'll give you another example. If you and I and 40 other men with our families came together, I've got a policy. It'd sound a little bit like socialism, but what it is, which I'm not for because it doesn't work, but if we were going to build a village, what we should do, instead of trying to build our own houses, you can tell I'm not very good at building, I would volunteer to build your house first, Navy veteran. Okay, then the village storeroom, and then I'd build the house for Kane and Peppers, and then for Robbie Kent. And I'd volunteer that my house has to be last, because then I win with the attitude that everyone knows I'm there for the right reason and my house is built last, but I bet you my house is the best by the end. So that's what I reckon. Lauren's painting at the moment, listening to the dull tones of Kaz. Okay. We don't get to choose the fights, but we should fight for what's right. That's what I believe in. The new rules. Put a thumbs up if you've heard the new rules that are about to happen in Illinois, Chicago, as of 1st of January. I've never heard of anything more preposterous in my life. They're calling it the purge laws. It is scary. Really, really scary. The police have actually said if you are shot and you're not likely to die, they won't be turning up. That they won't be turning up to help you get people off your property. They won't be turning up to gunfights that don't resolve in death. They won't be turning up to someone on your property as a trespasser. No. It is very, very dark. That is a time of national security where that country should be kicking everyone out that's involved in that sort of policy. Smokey, I thought it was a joke. I really did. And I had people say, oh, well, that can't be true. Where'd you get the results for that? And they're everywhere at the moment. James, do you think any nations other than Europe will do anything other than ship supplies and resources to help Ukraine? I don't think anything should be going to Ukraine. Nothing. We're not getting told the whole side of the story there. We've been getting told that's the poster child for all. Okay? It was the poorest country in Europe. If you send money there and don't want receipts back, do you think any of it is going to the poor guy on the ground? I believe what's happening in the Ukraine, and this is really, really sad, is the bravest step up first. The bravest are the bravest on the ground. They are going to lose the absolute cream of the entire male population of their country. And all the buildings they had before that were from the periods of the USSR when it was in there. So who's going to mop it up? You don't start mopping the mud off the floor while it's still raining. You wait till it's over and you fix it. Now, Russia has actually filed for peace numerous times with Ukraine, and they're the ones that are saying no. So there's a lot more afoot than any of us know. My hearts go out to the families. It really does. But, we've got enough going on in Australia. before we start handing out money to Europe again. Australia's done enough for Europe. The world is going to hit the shit. History is repeating itself. It absolutely is, Aussie player. Dave D, absolutely. I totally believe that. They're getting what they wanted. And that's what happens when leadership of institutions also gets political and have grandeur after their career. This sort of thing can happen. Paul Morrell, normally poor leadership. Dylan, I heard they might be sending Hawkeyes to Ukraine for testing, and that's what it actually is over there. It's a massive experiment on how to use military equipment. That's why the military exists, to help stop the world from shitting itself. Yep, I absolutely agree with that. But you can have too many gunfighters in a confined area. The Ukrainians seem to be doing a pretty good bloody job at the moment, but at what cost? And are they going to lose all of their best to be able to say that we won the battle, but overall we've lost our soul? Who knows? Spicy guns. There's no winners, spicy guns, between Ukraine and Russia. There is no winners. It's already, been a loss for both. It's horrible, absolutely terrible. Unpopular opinion, but I don't. Smokey doesn't support Ukraine. I've seen too much bad stuff. They're one of the most corrupt countries in the world, team. And they've just found out that a lot of the stuff that's getting sent there has already been either squandered or doesn't make it to those that need it. On Ukraine, I think Russia's peace demands include a lot of Ukrainian territory at the Bondus regions. I know they wanted that, but I don't know if any of us know anything that's happening over there. Tell you the truth, team. Yeah. Won the battle but lost the war, to be honest. Yeah. Yep. The victims of this is going to be the children that want their dads, and that's Russian and Ukraine and all of those in between. Yeah. The winners out of this are going to be potentially the media and the military global elites. That's going to be who the winners are. It's never going to be the little guy. That's for sure. And what's going to be worse is when this is all over, we're going to end up with a warlord gang culture, across the Ukraine, which is going to be unpoliceable. It's almost going to feel like a broken state, I'd imagine. I think there'll be a period of victory, but people that are used to carrying a gun and not obeying any rules for the defense of their nation aren't necessarily going to come back, just lay those weapons down and then start lifting bricks for $3 a day. I can't see that happening. But you do have to stand for something, and this is what tonight is about. I believe that the UK is an amazing thing. I believe that the brand is being revitalised, which is the royal family. I think King Charles, we've seen for the first time, has come out of under the umbrella of the fog of what happened with the Lady Di situation. We're seeing there's two sides to the story as well. He's absolutely behaved himself in a stellar fashion with stoicism and also of support for his family. And I think that any thought of a republic is going to be brushed away for at least another 4 years plus. But we'll see what happens next. The reason why I love it is because it means that you actually have a solid wall to your back, which is the Commonwealth. Okay? There is something greater than us as individuals. There is something to think if something occurs, there is some bedrock that we can rest our customs and traditions on. And when you're in the military, you learn a lot about that. You learn a lot about trusting your buddy that you might not even like, because you're dealing with his position number, not just his position personality. When you get in the military, the one thing that is missing everywhere across the Western world at the moment, seems to be, well, I've said shame before, but also it seems like the mental health is out of control because, one, they're not trying to fix the problem. They talk about it, they're not trying to fix it. Can you fix it? Stop bringing it up for starters. if you tell someone they've got a problem enough, they're going to actually think they've got a problem. I think we're all a little bit wacky, to tell you the truth. But in saying that, loneliness is one of the biggest dilemmas of today's society. We've got millions of single women and millions of single men that all wish they had a partner, but no one's got one. Marriage has declined to the lowest levels, I believe, in the history of the world, or since marriage. We're seeing guys and gals that don't even have really friends. That's crazy. In the military, everyone, Navy, Air Force, Army, you see someone in uniform, you can walk over and say, "G'day, mate, how you going?" Join the Army, join the Air Force, join the Navy for at least 4 years to find out exactly where your rubber band breaking point is, where you learn to fail only to get a hand back up again. Because when you join and enlist in the military, starting at Kapuka or equivalent or RMC, the thing is that you will have someone there, a door away. You knock on the door. What are you doing? "Oh, I'm going to go down to the shop and do this." All of that mateship you take for granted within the military complex. You know, that mateship, the friendship, the joviality, the sense of humor, all of that carries on across all of the services. And then from there, what occurs is you can end up with a total conglomerate of unlikely suspects all hanging out together that didn't know each other a couple of hours earlier. And loneliness is not an aspect of military career. It's fantastic. It really is. And some people will never understand what it's like to have true friends, mateship, a group around them that has their back, that all has enough money to contribute to whatever it's going to be, to get the next shout even, to share a taxi there, to share one back, to have your back, to show strength in numbers, use their father's looks against them as you take the girl that he wants but doesn't have yet. Yeah, it's cool. Lauren, true, Kanan, we have never been so connected yet so alone. It is. It's true. Aussie player, have you all got the latest news? It's so dangerous at the moment. World peace is at risk. Dude, Aussie player, it is a very, very serious time, because it used to be about what's right and what's wrong. Now it's about politics. Even when it's not right, you're not allowed to say it. And the same people believe in everything. I'm not going to go too far into the personality traits I'm talking about. But I feel like when I'm talking to the young, I get a point of view which is wacky as fuck. When I talk to parents, what I'm talking about is my parents, etc., not them in particular, but older people, you're getting another view completely disconnected from the young. And then in between, there is a combination of either some symmetry, but some real, well said there, bipolar is sad, Joshy. We've got a bipolar community, where there's people absolutely standing for the wrong ideals. How many people do you reckon aren't for the monarchy, but they can't tell you why, even though the monarchy's never done anything wrong to them, yet they'll still take the holiday off while they're talking bad about the Queen not being here? I'm actually quite sad still that she's gone, because she was something. It's important to have something. Availability, I've got good to see the stream. I haven't been on here for a while, but availability. There you go. You're here. It's good to have you here. What would you like to talk about? Dave, my childhood dies a piece at a time. Yeah. Yep. No, I don't think so, Josh, because I think every country, regardless of where they're at, have got their own dilemmas at the moment. I think one of the biggest dangers is since the dollar was taken away from the gold, being backed by gold, it means people can keep printing money and keeping conflicts going longer than what they used to be able to afford. You used to have to take out loans to stay at war, that you had to pay back, war bonds. But now they just print extra money, throw inflation at the population, and continue it going, saying it won't be a problem in my 4-year engagement as a political leader with the pen. and it'll never touch me because I will get paid for perpetuity for the rest of my life. Yep. Canaan. I feel I've been blessed in the most of my friends in life have been older generations. Yep, I agree. Lauren says, I think our governments need to tighten their belt, stop wasting money, become more accountable and transparent. Accountable, yes. I think that politicians should say, this is what my policies are, and if they don't achieve them, they should be punished. Just like you would be if you're a private contractor, if you don't make your timings and you don't have an act of God that says is the reason why you couldn't get the roof on. Yep. Big departure from ScoMo. ScoMo lost it, I don't believe Albanese won. I believe that ScoMo lost it. Yeah. I really think she will inspire some in the next generation. Hey, Smokin' Oaken, I start at Kapuka on Tuesday. You've got Smokin' Oaken, you've got a bunch of people at the moment who are actually making their way to Kapuka at the moment. The funeral was beautiful, Jay. If I had been there, I would have probably been more down, but the actual religious hymns as such, I'm not a real fan on. One, you can't hear what's being said. Two, there's no real message in it. And three, I would rather that time be taken up with the communication of wisdom, of life lived, of information you may not have known that's been brought out that gives transparency to the lovely person that was the Queen, to the 2,000 plus dignitaries that were present. The actual turnout of the people, I thought, was the most beautiful, telling thing. And their conduct while they were in lines. Dylan, off topic, but what do you know about the Signals Corps, Kaz? I'm hoping to enlist on the 25th of next month as an ICT specialist. ICT specialist. Well, mate, it's in conjunction with the intelligence community, mate. It's changing all the time. We've got people that have just turned up there Monday, okay, to the School of Signals, which is in Watsonia. And he sent me a few pictures of his room. And I tell you what, the difference between going to infantry and going to signals, infantry, you are going to be living with all the buddies. You're going to be playing with all the best toys, and who dares wins, you're going to be getting, the victor gets the spoils. But in saying that, to the guy that went to Signals Corps, he has got a fantastic next 6 months ahead of him. He's got probably the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks of training, 10 weeks maybe, of his signals training in a room all by himself, beautiful, air-conditioned, heater, everything taken care of. And then, and that's a room by himself. And then after that, he goes for Christmas for 6 weeks, then comes back, and this is an IET, and then goes into a room of his own, like a little flat, so fantastic. But, we choose our cause, so there should be no jealousy. Felty Knight, Ozan, I feel like your manager is one of those people who thinks their workplace is just way more important, though it depends on the job and so on. I'm not sure what that was about. Dave, D Signals has a higher requirement for clearances, long employment training. They do. They spend a lot of money on you, okay, and they expect results. Have a look at Battlefield Communications Specialist, ECN 662 or EW 663. EW is one of those things too that you will have additional testing for, just like you would for an officer selection board, where they'll see if you have the prospects for future and further development of resources, etc., that go into you. Signals, yep, 2 pieces. You've got the crown that's been thrown in the air by the Interflora, by Mercury. Navy veteran Kaz, you have my vote for next Chief of Defence Force. I'd happily fix bayonets for you. Mate, I just wish that they would have a panel where older veterans get to come together, sit down, and actually have a volunteer morning tea or whatever it may be, where we actually get to bring up critical ideas and solutions to those ideas, so the Chief of the Army can actually use the benefits of select individuals to be able to give them, the untouchables, opinion on what could make the Army better for leadership, for the soldier, and for society. And the first one would be, do not drop the standards. Because no one has the right to drop the standards, then hand a commander soldiers with lowered standards that now can't meet the expectation of the mission. Kaz, would you consider reserve as a job or a hobby? Somewhere in between. I'm currently going from Circat 5 to 7, and my manager at Civvy work keeps telling me that reserve is a hobby, not a job. Is he a reservist? No. Look, there's many ways of being in the Army Reserve, and that was with full engagement. But I'd question, if someone goes into Army Reserve, and it actually pisses me off a little bit, if someone goes, can't join the regular Army, but they want to do full-time service in the Army Reserve, then I'm going to question, why didn't you join, the regular Army? And that's a pretty obvious question. That you should not be allowed to have full-time service within the Army Reserve, especially at a qualification or a rank where you offer nothing but taking taxpayers' money. Now, as soon as you can apply that amount of time, fantastic. Go over, join the regular Army. But if not, there is that tipping point where, where it starts to question the individual. So when you're in Army Reserve, you can give all this time, but you can't actually apply yourself to a 4-year commitment. Because if you can't do that, will you be committed when the bad things happen? We all know that we have got some amazing people in the Army Reserve. They were some of my favourite people to train, to tell you the truth. But then you get the other ones that only turn up when the good shit's on. Don't turn up for the bad shit. Don't turn up for any of the paperwork. Get accelerated way too quick, and then have a chip and enjoy telling regular soldiers what to do. So there's a lot of sides to it. You in Germany, Aussie, or where is this source? In Germany on the Autobahn, all you can see is weapons all on the way to Ukraine from all over the world. It's a really unfair way of fighting, isn't it, Aussie? Because that's saying, I'm not going to be in the fight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brass knuckles on your hands for you, so you take all the damage, and basically I sit back here saying I'm not getting involved when in actual fact I'm a proxy. I'd only get someone to do 100 days full-time service to help me if they came from... Yep, and that's what it always was, Nicole. It was always 100 days. If you can give more than 100 days, then it should be a 1-year commitment. And if you can give more than 1 year, it should be either discharge now or join the regular Army. That's your choice. Because once you've done a full year, that's the same as a national service commitment. And that's a fantastic thing. But never forget that the Army Reserve, that signature is not a passive signature. You can get called up on that signature. You absolutely can. So be careful you don't take for granted, okay, the power of that signature and how it can be used for you or against you. Yep. Everyone else got their enlistment on the 27th. Very, very smart timing for the people at the moment that are getting in, because they'll do their kapuka, then they'll get sent home for a full BRL period that is unearned. And what do I mean by that? Well, normally what happens is you get days given to you, granted to you after a year of serving in the Army. But if you're in training, because you won't have those days, you'll automatically be given the full spectrum of leave, because they don't want people to be babysitting you on a barracks while you're partially trained, even if it is fully trained as an Australian soldier per se, where you can't get additional advanced training within a corps specific. Yeah. I'm actually surprised the Army and the Air Force and the Navy don't stagger BRL, which is your Brigade Recreation Leave, throughout the year, so certain units One will take the 6 weeks off here. The other one will take off 6 weeks there. So we don't end up with an entire army standing down at exactly the same time. Foxy, my boot tying days are over, mate. Get the pinch cord clamp off your spare set of cams and thread your bootlaces through them. No more tying your boots. Absolutely. I've been doing that for more than 20 years with my joggers, Foxy. Lincraft, the ladies' store. I used to go there and get those things for my joggers. I was a part of a Christmas platoon. Lots of people don't come back. Oh, for Kapuka. All right. Australian AK's got my assessment day on the 27th, mate. A mate of mine got rejected last month for not having enough life experience. What do you think of this? Normally what that means is he screwed up and spoke in a way where he didn't represent himself well. And they would have thought he was too immature at the time, or they didn't want to break the news to him in there that you're not the droid we're looking for. That's normally the Clayton's response. Come back in 1 year. Navy veteran, love my Christmas leave. Haven't seen family in 2 years because of deployments and COVID. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Navy veteran. I didn't know. So, do you just take it out on the cabin boy? Tropical salt. Because of my kids and the tri-service work together. Okay? Change your name to Ellie. Guys and gals, I just did me tax, and I can tell you now, geez, that scares the shit out of you. You don't know whether you're getting or giving, doesn't it? And at the moment, we tried to purchase something for Jay Hayes today, but something's going on with the website we're trying to get it for him from. So is it Jay? We're not going to tell you what it is, but we're on it. Similar thing happened to me. I'm still working on that, mate. 3 years later, I treated it as a confession. Yeah. Yep. Look, we still have so many soldiers that ring me, soon to be soldiers eventually, hopefully, that call me and go, I know you say it's not a confession session, Kaz, but it just slipped out and I said this, and I'm like, oh my God, what do you expect? You know, I'm sure that the people that were in the recruiting office, just like any recruiting role, when they see you and like you, like when you're watching America's Got Talent and you're going, geez, I hope this person's good, and when they're dog shit, it lets you down. You know, once you say some things, you can't take that back, okay? Once you say you got your depression, you can't be allowed in the army, you know, especially if you've got it and you're on medication. If you say that you've got something wrong with your back, you know, how is the army meant to take you in and give you a bill of health knowing they can be paying out millions of dollars in pensions to someone they knew was broken from the start, who's competing with someone who's 10 years younger and is fine? You know, you make it very hard. They call it seizing defeat from the hands of victory. It happens all the time. I've never drank, never smoked, never partied. William, we need to drag you in and we need to get you broken in. William, so we've got some really good news too. We've got some great guys that I wish I could talk to you more about that are part of the that have just got their dates given to them to begin their officer training in January. And I believe all the incidents that are happening in life at the moment is actually going to focus the right values, hopefully. I've heard some scary things. I've even heard that RMC might be going to 1 year instead of 18 months for the Bakers. That'd be scary. What would you cut out? How could you cut 6 months out of something? One thing that the Army Reserve will talk about a lot, and some officers will do this too because they don't get held to the same standard when it comes to training and instruction, is they'll say some things are compressed. Well, let me tell you something. You can't compress military training. You can't, because it all has formal training objectives that must be met in a formal manner, whether it be theory, whether it be weapons, or whether it be field orientated, so or drill square. So you can't cut that down because there has to be a statement of relevance, and then there has to be a then at the end of that, there has to be a statement of, not a statement of relevance. There has to be a test of objectives to see what level you actually applied that at. So never let people tell you that anything has been concentrated, because you can't do it. If it was done, then that means that what they've done is cut corners, and people have been ill prepared, ill trained, and have come under the level of what we would call C, which means competent, which in actual fact means incompetent a lot of the times. Where we go? Did we see Jody Stevens? How are you, Lauren? Well, I pray. Jody, it must be getting late over there, my dear. I hope you're okay. Jody's from the USA. Jody we see as a gold star mother from the USA. You know, she's lost her son. You know, we did a poem for him, James Meredith Hupp. He's loved by the channel, you know, as is Jody and her partner, Maddie. You know, and USA, you know, I hope you have learned a little bit from the way the UK has held himself in their grief over the last 10 days. God save the king, and let's hope some customs and traditions keep all of us acting just a little bit more civilised. Foxy, you need to sell yourself, but in a way that suits them. You're a reflection of their end product, and the army wants the best. Absolutely, and it's fair enough. Rocket Man, RAF is, you sound more like Space Force. RAF is moving away from Christmas breaks at 1RTE next year. All recruits and course instructors will be training during Christmas. I don't know how I don't think that could be true, Rocket Man, for the simple fact that that's when the posting and promotion cycle is also on. So how would that occur? I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying there's always more to it. Lauren is painting. I've seen the painting. It's not the painting for our prized individual. And it's beautiful. It really is. Now that she's got Excalibur, her favourite palette knife. Jody, the one hand of Napoleon, says Dave D. Spicy Guns, do you reckon I'll get into the infantry, Kaz? I broke my leg and by growth plate in 2021, and I'm 12 this year. Mate, you got a lot of years to go, mate. You'll be fine. You'll be right. Triple Assault trainings gets put on the unit. No training should ever get put on the unit. You should not leave any training establishment with shortfalls unless there's been some act of God that has created that. Hopefully, because they're already preparing for war. They can't afford to be doing that training, you know. Hopefully I answer better next time. Psych is like, come back in 3 years. Holy shit, what'd you say? Make friends, play sports, work full time. I've worked at my job, social life, but not sure about sports. The weird thing is, and I'd support you in this field tonight, is the fact that they say get more life experience. What more life experience can you get than saying, okay, you've got a lot to learn, young fella. Let's put a uniform on you and we're going to teach you. You know, I reckon that's the way to do it. Bam. Yep, it's not the title you want, but is it, Jody? It definitely isn't. The price to be a gold star parent is not the price you want to pay. James, what did you do in the infantry that was special in a way, Kaz? Well, instructing was special. Being the first on the ground to give Christmas back to villages that couldn't remember their last one, putting safety back in people's lives, seeing families being able to sleep, understanding there's a bigger dog in the village than those that have been giving them hell for as long as they can remember. The adventure was always amazing. The brotherhood, the mateship, the learning about myself, realizing that there was a lot to work on for a lot of years and still understanding the downsides of what it is like to be Kaz, having the ability to have actions on and rules of engagement within my civilian life and understand exactly where I stand, what is important to me, being forged into a series of character traits that means that you come before I do in almost everything. working for the team, being the supporter of the team instead of trying to be the leader of the team. I got that from there. I've been around some of the smartest people in the world that come from multiple different nations. I've been part of history many times. I've been traveling all through the world, almost all continents. I would not even be able to write a list for you, to tell you the truth, mate. And most of that would not have happened if I hadn't been in infantry as well. Lard, I think the only way they could cut RMC to 1 year is to send the officer candidates to Kapuka first. Yeah, but that's basically what third class is, so I don't understand. Yeah. Rocketman. When I was that's a good, volunteering is great. I've done it and enjoyed it. That's a big thing. There's a massive difference between being forced to do something and actually putting out a call for action to say to people, hey, press like if you can, team. To say, who wants to do this? When people volunteer for something, there's a greater chance you're going to get a better team because they're there by choice. That is why we saw such good behaviour by those that turned out for the funeral of the Queen Elizabeth, Queen Regina II. Why we saw such a great turnout was because they were all volunteers. No one had to be there. And because they were there by volunteering, they weren't whingers. They were compassionate to those in front of them, those behind them. They waited. They didn't care it was raining. I loved it. Jody, because I wish to use your poem for Ian Turner and James Meredith Hupp in a Gold Star Park event. Absolutely. October 9th. It is a groundbreaking ceremony for an addition to the park, a monument called the Silent Battle. Holy shit. Can we get some thumbs up for Jody there? Jody, that's going to be a hard one, mate. Will you be able to read that without losing composure? I know that it's such a special bond that links Australia and the USA Special Forces groups. That's a beautiful thing, mate. I'd absolutely be touched by you doing that, Jody. And I don't mean touched as in like cabin boy kind of way. Caleb, g'day, mate. How you going? Lauren, so you don't let your gums flap in the future. Really practice your social skills. Absolutely. And the reason, Felty, why that is so important is because more often than not, when the soldier is on the ground, they are actually the first point of contact with either a dignitary, with a threat force, with something where there can be strategic reputational damage done. So it's important that every soldier, whether they be transport, normally the first people in convoys to roll a window down and speak to someone of law enforcement from a foreign country, etc., rolling into villages, etc. You need to be able to communicate, at a standard that can get you beyond the first 5 minutes until your 2IC, section commander, platoon sergeant, platoon commander, or another private soldier can come in and clarify with a little bit more intellectual horsepower. Public speaking is an important thing, and it should also be part of, Kapuka. We're all a bit cringy and have stupid memories from when we were young. Absolutely we do. J-Bo, g'day, buddy. Joshy Fawns, well said. Lauren, night. Kanan, yes, good night to you, Mrs. Mate. Smoky B was a volunteer firefighter here in New Zealand. Amazing. From the age of 16 to 18, had to stop when we moved. It was one of the greatest things I've ever done. Smoky, I couldn't imagine a more primal fear than fire. I probably couldn't. So well done to you and your family. And I always feel for the animals. Guys and gals, what are you doing for tomorrow? What are you going to do for the final passing of Queen Elizabeth II? For the time that she is granted you as a public holiday. One thing I would say to people, is I would recommend that you do defend the Queen and do defend the monarchy. The richest people in the world that don't express their wealth in any way other than service back to other nations. If they were any other country, they could take their royalty, drive their Lamborghinis, have a hawk on their shoulder, absolutely exploit their wealth and never turn up to any public engagements, tell you to go side yourself, and then try to basically influence politics in a way that makes life hell for us. They don't do that. They're a tradition. Okay, they're there. They represent something that is great, something that is classy. They do. And most people in their entire life, other than a wedding, which is really not really a formal event, sort of, when you go to a military dinner, whether it be Air Force, Army or Navy, a dining in night, the regalia that happens around that, it is absolutely amazing to see some of the partners' faces when they see how important it is that they are part of something that is bigger than what they expected. When we stand up and we do a toast to the ladies, that the men aren't allowed to go to the toilet. A man is supposed to be able to hold his bladder as well as his stomach as he drinks, keep his swearing low, and be able to communicate to his partner. And also she wears your reputation. If your missus acts like a dick, you're the one that gets in trouble too. The men will wait and allow the ladies to eat first. The ladies are allowed to go to the toilet because we don't expect them to have bladder discipline. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Resting and licking my wounds. Copped a spicy 5.56 round shell down my back last week. Permanent branding courtesy of the Army. It's they burn. They definitely do. Jordan Towner. Kaz has been any news on rebadging the engineer, and that'll be a big one. That all has to be redone, Jordan. At this stage, they're saying that the king won't have his coronation until at least probably June next year. And that'll probably be on the 2nd or whatever, which will be the same date that Queen Elizabeth had hers. PK, my favourite Chewy. Lauren is just coming in the news now as I'm watching Kaz. Good to have you here. I hope AK is doing well, PK. They are us, we are them. It's who we are. God save the king. That's right, Aussie player. Well done. Felty, how did you get 5.56? Normally when you fire a weapon, when the cartridge is ejected, sometimes you cop one in the face, especially if you're a shooting coach. But sometimes it can fire off a wall, it can come off a pole, or someone else can fly over and go down the back of your collar. You will not be quick enough to stop at the burning. PK, AJ, hope you're all well, mate. AK's going well, about to leave ACT and patient to Amberley. There you go. Foxy, Australia, yep. Not everyone can say for the king. Not everyone can say for the king. That's right. I wish I could. Tropical tradition tells us who we are and informs the future. Tropic tradition. Oh, okay, tradition. I thought you were talking about tropic tradition. I was going, okay. I thought you were talking about the Maldives for a second, Lauren. Guys and gals, sorry tonight was sort of all over the place. It wasn't until the last 10 minutes that I've really been able to, where are we? There we go. It wasn't until the last 10 minutes or so that I was able to really be able to get anything together at all. I was with my daughter. Look at that lady draped in a flag. Look at this, veterans. I love it. I love to see it. Let's stay on for a little bit longer because this is actually quite lovely. Look at the people. Some of those people have been there for 24 hours. For 40 kilometres, the crowd was there. To see this sort of pride, in a country is absolutely amazing. It touches my heart. It's like they all understand me. That's why the girls call me Big Ben. Okay, maybe a bit of fake news there. Where are we? Look at these gentlemen. All volunteers to be there. All these servicemen. People communicating with people. There's a lot of people there that don't even have friends. In reality, they're now rubbing shoulders with people like David Beckham. They're realising the pageantry, that there's something bigger. Look at them. And they're all dressed well. It doesn't matter if you're great unwashed or whether you're the CEO of your company. Look at it. Beautiful. Let's go forward and have a look a bit more. There we go. The boys. They look amazing. Okay, where are we? I don't even know how the RSMs got this together. It was insanely good. What do you reckon it would have cost to actually have this funeral? The whole point of tonight is, what do you stand for? Stand for something. It'd be an interesting question. If someone came up and actually said to you in the street, what do you actually stand for, mate? What would you say? PK, JH, thanks, mate. He's loving his time in the army. Has been supported by his commanding officer to do corporal courses early next year. Sub 1 or Sub 4, can't remember which one. Could be both. Sub 1 is the actual, is called the Junior Leadership course now. Kaz should join the Royal Air Force. He has turned into a big softy. Navy veteran, not for me, sir. I'll be a cabin boy before I'll be a Raffy. She was a great equalizer. Love the world's leaders and common people. Felty Knight reckons 100 million. 100 million? I reckon it could have cost something similar. Do we have any higher than 100 million or less? What do we reckon, team? More than 10,000 police? More than 4,000 soldiers? Every street was cordoned off? Insane. Aussie Punisher, I've been watching your videos for 3 years now, and I'm currently in the process of joining the ADF Reserve, so I just want to thank you for your advice, mate. It's all fine, Aussie. All fine. Original name then. So someone has gone back to the original name. Yeah, mate, it's been the Junior Leadership course for years, unless they have actually changed it. The thing is, Sub 1 used to determine whether you could be an instructor or not. You know, it used to be you'd come out of there with a recommendation whether you could be an instructor at all. It was, Jody. He's a big man, that RSM. Very portly. What else we got? They're getting ready to go out. The amount of different uniforms was just incredible. But it was the pipes and drums that really took me. Kaz, news just in, Russia's calling up 300,000 reservists. That's a sad thing. That means they're either going to go in even harder, or they're doubling down on something that's already failing. You know, is the price going to be worth it? Guess what? We just overtook the poorest country in Europe. Well done. It's actually worth a lot of money because it's the breadbasket of Europe. I think they already have the servicemen on the payroll, the flags, and the other ceremonial aspects brought the cost of the hearses in extra. Yeah, Lighty, but you've got to remember that every road was closed. You've got to remember they flew in over 2,000 dignitaries from around the world as well. It was absolutely massive. When you've got an estimated 2 million people in the streets, you know, that's a phenomenal amount of money. So you could get to $100 million quite quickly. Got to go, folks. I'm almost finished. I spent 2 days painting a bottom lip. Are you actually picking up the bottom lip? Russia's actually army isn't really in the battle. It's mostly reservists and mercenaries. 50 mil? Yeah, I reckon 50 mil could be it, Spicy. I'd have no idea. The sooner I finish, the sooner I can start our roaming. Oh, peace to the people. Take care, Mama Bear. Jay Frey. They even took down and dismantled traffic lights, which have cost a bit. They also, a lot of the advertising from companies was taken down from big screens so that it didn't compete with the thoroughfare. Second JP and his bum grubs. Love the family. Yeah. Good night, Foxy. Lauren, do you want me to give you a call as soon as I get off? There's our Navy gentleman. Where are we? I've got a soft spot for the horses team. Even though on marches, I've had to actually go ankle deep through horse shit before with the light horse in front of us. But that's okay. It's all part of it, eh? Look how spectacular that is. There's our Navy gentlemen. It's a wonder none of their medals came off, actually. When you're marching over 3 kilometres, this was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That's the least amount of people I've actually seen at any stage. Imagine how, if you were a soldier there, Felty Knight, if you were a soldier there at the moment, how that would actually change your life. You know, I've done military funerals before. I've been the stretcher bearer twice. Once for Lewis Shelley and once for Jim Kirikitis. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it is really, really hard work. Emotionally, as well as the rehearsals, etc. Look at that. That is a country that loves our leader. Do you think you'd get the same for Albanese? Do you think you'd get the same for Biden? Do you think you'd get the same for Jacinta Ardern? Nope. There's only one person, one in the entire world that can get this, and that was Queen Elizabeth. And probably going to be King Charles sooner than later. The roads were covered with sand and the lights were taken down to allow for the most eloquent photos. And the sound was just haunting, Jody, when you hear the drill on the sand. Is that all, Nicole? 5 million for the Queen's mother. Look at this. That's amazing. Those guys' shoulders would be red raw from carrying that lead casket. My dad escorted the Queen in Victoria when he was a police officer. Yeah, it makes a really big deal. It really does. Dave D. Albanese is a female version of Julia Gillard. That's gold. But he hasn't fallen over yet. Guys and gals, so this is all about what basically do you stand for? You know, don't be on the wrong side of the conversation that seems to be happening way so often these days. Understand that if you try to be edgy, one day you could be very embarrassed, and that there is unintentional victims of the way we act, the way we speak, and sometimes it's ourselves. So, people don't understand the significance of the drill performed and the importance of the drill square. Absolutely, Foxy. Years of training and the mental discipline. You could not get a civilian group that would be capable of that. The only people that could do this is military. The only people in the world. How many would have attended this if it was a year after Diana's death? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Diana, to tell you the truth. Not a big fan. I didn't have anything bad about her, but I know there was two sides to the story. She was Jodie. Yep. And imagine what it would have been for Elizabeth Truss to know that the Queen had basically got off her deathbed to come and make her the Prime Minister, and then went back and then went to sleep, you know, permanently. Be very, very touching. Yep. Well, guys and gals, this could go on forever, but let's get out of here. And this will be the last time that we really get to speak about the Queen and appreciate her passing, and understanding that she was proof that there is things that are bigger, institutionally wise, than we could ever possibly fathom, and they haven't squandered their power. So, in summary to that, to Queen Elizabeth II, rest in peace, and thank you for allowing us to serve you, my father, and then myself, and even to the US, for Jodie, for James Meredith Hupp, for serving within the US alongside UK forces, Commonwealth forces. there's always a period of colonisation that you look at, which you might not be proud of, but ultimately it is always a net benefit, pretty much. Have a good one. See you later. And God save the king. And you got to stand for something and accept the fact that even if you made a statement about loving puppies, there's going to be someone that's got a problem with that as well. But for your civilization to continue on, you have to prepare for war. And the only way you prepare for war is have volunteers in uniforms, because otherwise you will lose. No worries, Foxy, and thanks for your service. I don't normally say that to people because we think we join for the flag. We think we join for whatever it may be, but at the end of the day, I think we join just for a bit of mateship and a bit of adventure. And because we've got a calling, and the calling is deep inside. And until you do it, you don't know what you're capable of. And I always feel when I see a lot of civilians that get caught up in life, do they ever truly know just how good they are and what they're capable of? Because they're like a flower that's growing in a small pot that just hasn't had room to grow. The army will give you room to grow. And we want you to be the best version of you. Because once you have achievement, then what happens is you tend to relax. And when you relax, then you tend to make it about the team, about the group. And you tend to get more done. So guys and gals, enjoy your day tomorrow. I know it was a pleasure for the Queen to serve you. It wasn't a one-way street. So respect your elders. Respect the title. And remember, it's not just a person, but she did it better than anyone ever could. And it was an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you and understand that we are lucky to have each other. And being a volunteer in life is a great thing to be. Be the, what do we call it? Oh, I'm getting short. I've got a glitch here. Be the good Samaritan. And just remember, if the rest of the world was like you, would the world be a better place or not? Okay. Stand for something, and the world will watch it. And people will listen, they'll follow your leadership. Take it easy. Never walk past a scream in the night. Be the first person to say, with me, lads. And go in there and fix the problem. Okay? Because if you fix the problem, guess what? The dam doesn't eventually come down. See you later. Navy veteran, leave that cabin boy alone. I joined for all the topless men and beach volleyball games. I thought they were in the Air Force, Navy veteran. How many times have you hit the ball over the edge? See you later, mate. See you later. Take it easy. And I still call Australia home. Queen Elizabeth, God bless the Queen. Okay, and God save the King. Take it easy. Little Charlotte, she's my favourite.